Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. A gently humanist story of the American West from our guest today, Max Walker-Silverman. It's called Rebuilding. It follows Dusty, a reserved, divorced father whose ranch has been burned to the ground in a devastating wildfire. Now living in a trailer community on a government-run campsite, Dusty finds solace with his new neighbors who have also lost everything, quietly reassembling his life and starts reconnecting with his ex-wife Ruby and young daughter Callie-Rose. Spectacular cinematography, portrayals by the lead actors Josh O'Connor, Meghann Fahy, and LaTorre are really terrific. We're joined today by the director and writer of Rebuilding, Max Walker-Silverman. Max, welcome to Cinemophile.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It is a beautiful film to look at. Congratulations to the cinematographer that you work with on this. Wonderfully done. But it's about the story. It's about the relationships. Tell me a little bit about what inspired this particular project, Rebuilding.
It's inspired by just how do you build a life and a home in a uncertain, smoky, spooky, dusty world, and particularly smoky place in the West and the rural West in this case, and ultimately really catalyzed by a fire in which my grandmother's house burned down, and the tragedy of it, but then also sort of the community that came out of it and the reinvention, I suppose, that came out of it, and seeing how that land continued to be meaningful and how the family sort of found a way forward around that. And that all became the sort of folk tale that is this film.
Yeah, it is. It comes across beautifully, not only in the story that you just described, also it comes across in the imagery that you reinforce that notion with, this idea that I'll call it the circle of life, if you will, just the idea that even amongst the devastation that we see in the film, we see Dusty as he begins at first reluctantly to begin to rebuild his life. And so much of the success of the film, and so much, I think, of what conveys what I just described, is in the tone and the pacing of the film. At what point did you know that this is how you wanted to tell this story, this kind of very deliberate pace and reflection, if you will?
Well, it's like how I want cinema to be, I guess. The world is hard and harsh. But I believe that in art, there's not just the possibility, but kind of the responsibility of showing another possibility. And so I like, I want things to be gentle and lovely. And even when they're about really tough things, tough circumstances, and tough people. I just I like that. It's the the great gift of fiction, that we can paint things with a gentle brush. And I like the hope is that somehow in with that softer touch, like that sort of quieter register and like that bigger, emptier space, like there's room for something a little more profound, to sneak in, and ideally something that kind of approaches some version of beauty, like for lack of a better word. And maybe it worked for some people and not for others, but that's the goal and that's the challenge.
Yeah. It is that canvas that you're able to paint on with this land. The land is such a big part of the telling of the story, a big part of the idea of renewal. And through that, the people in the film acknowledge it. At least Dusty does, and so many others. By the way, the cast, we'll get to the cast and the performances, but also the way that you tie in Dusty's relationship with his daughter. He's obviously divorced from his ex-wife Ruby, and again, another way of reinforcing this notion of renewal and opportunity to move forward in your life in ways that may not seem obvious at the time. Let's talk about that father-daughter relationship that's so beautifully portrayed in the film.
I guess there's like a few things sort of behind that, inspiring that. One is I wanted to make a movie that was like sort of a tribute to a family, like perhaps somewhat like my own, that's
Mhm.
a little funky or off or non-traditional or whatever, but like finds a way to love and raise its children well, which has been like a great, the great part of my life. And then yeah, I've known pretty tough dudes who were just like totally turned into jello by having daughters. And that's like yeah, talk about the cycle of life. Like that can be a pretty amazing thing. Yeah, wanted elements of that too, and then this I guess like this is a character who's so defined by the past at the beginning of the film, who's like completely buried underneath the weight of the past, the weight of like what he feels are the responsibilities that have been passed to him, the weight of what he feel like he's lost, that it's important for him to be reminded, as it is for all of us to be reminded, that against all odds, like the world goes on, and there are responsibilities to the future as well.
Yeah.
Like I hope that that's sort of part of the story of this guy.
Yeah. Well, as I was alluding to the countryside, the this part of the U.S. is it is humbling. I have, as I mentioned before we got started, spent a little bit of time in Colorado and in Utah and lived up in Northern California. We're in the mountains, and there is something that you just can't avoid. I don't know that anyone could stand in the Sierra Nevada mountains and not be overwhelmed by the sense of place, your sense of place in the world, and then without reflecting on that. And that's what's so wonderful about this film is it gives not only we see the characters in a state of reflection and adjustment and reconciliation, but we can, but it, in our own lives, I think just watching a film like this causes you to think about these kinds of things as you I think you were talking about earlier in terms of that's part of the intent here of the film is for that. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, I mean, beauty is a pretty heavy thing. And
Yeah.
it's like a great gift that's hard to be. It's one of the harder things for the world to take away from people. I think it's something that people can have who don't have much else. And that's important. And yeah, the great landscapes that make us feel small. I don't know, like maybe to some people there's like a spookiness to that, but I think more often there's a comfort to it. Like,
Yeah.
and that's kind of an amazing thing that it can feel soothing to feel small. It can feel soothing to be like a little piece of some much greater, longer world and
Yeah.
universe. It is to me at least. So yeah, there are timelines at work like much greater than our own, and that's yeah, I don't know. It's like sort of
Yeah.
scary and comforting all at once. But this film, like, I think looks to the comfort in it.
Absolutely. I was going to say, but a personal reflection. If you stand on a snow-bound area in the Sierra Nevada mountains on a at a full moon in the middle of the night, you can read by the light of the full moon in a
Yeah.
snowy setting. I don't know
I
that there's anything quite that will put you in that place that you just described more appropriately than that does. So,
It's funny you say that. Every time I'm out in the streets on a full moon, and I'm like, and every time somehow you're amazed anew at just how bright it is. And I
mhm.
always make a note to like never be embarrassed by overlighting a night scene ever again, just because like it's so much, yeah, and the shadows are hard and the light is intense.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the cast here because everyone in it is so good. By the way, I just want to quickly remind our listeners we're speaking with Max Walker-Silverman. The film is called Rebuilding, and it is out, and I'm going to screw this on November 14th throughout the United States. It looks like it's a full release throughout the US on the
November
14th.
14th in New York and an expansion on November 21st.
Okay, here to LA and all that, the rest of it. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So you just have a great cast. Josh O'Connor, who I remember from God's Own Country. I saw that film. I interviewed the director of that. Terrific performance in that film, and he is obviously the center of the film in so many different ways, emotionally and otherwise. But he's great in this film. He's just absolutely wonderful.
He's great, man. I mean, he's such a nice such like a nice guy, which is not superfluous. It's actually like critical for a movie like this, and such a deep well of soul,
Yeah,
which is like also its own skill, especially for a part like this that's so kind of empty otherwise, and so quiet, and so however he defines himself is lost, and there's a void there that needs to be filled, and that takes a really capable actor to do so.
yeah. Well, his performance is very measured. It's a very calibrated performance over the course of the film, and not in a manipulative way. It just feels very natural to his character. So, again, you got a great performance out of it. We have just a couple of seconds here. I just want to acknowledge the cast itself, but also Lily LaTorre. LaTorre, am I getting that right?
LaTorre.
LaTorre. Okay, fantastic child. Fantastic performance, childhood aside. Just a wonderful kind of bonding the two of them experience in this film. Meghann Fahy is wonderful. Amy Madison is just every time I see her, I fall in love again. She's great. She's just great in this film. You got a great cast, great performances out of everybody. So, which are really, really, I mean, congratulations all around, man.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I really loved working with all of them. It's a pretty easy job when you have actors like that. And
And by the way, I saw Callie-Rose in Catch the Fair One. She was fantastic in that film. She's obviously great in this. That was a great film. I'm sure you've seen it. My God, that's a good film.
yeah,
So
she's great, and all good people too. All good.
yeah, yeah. Well, my all my best to you. I hope you're working on something new and exciting. So hopefully we'll get a chance to have another conversation down the line. Thank you. Again, the film is called Rebuilding. Wonderful film. Check it out, people. You can see it if you're in New York on the 14th of November. Otherwise, look for it on the 21st around the country. Max Walker-Silverman. Congrats. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you. You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.